The neighbor in Unit 204. The first complaint seemed insignificant. A tenant reported hearing someone moving furniture at strange hours. The second complaint was stranger. Someone claimed they had never actually seen the resident of Unit 204. Then came the third. A woman insisted she heard a conversation taking place inside the apartment. Several voices. Yet, according to the building manager, Unit 204 had been vacant for nearly 3 years. Then security footage revealed something nobody could explain. Because people were clearly entering Unit 204. The problem was, nobody was ever seen leaving. This is the mystery of the neighbor in Unit 204. Riverside Towers was an aging apartment complex built in the early 1980s. 6 floors, 84 units, hundreds of residents had passed through over the decades. Most people kept to themselves. The building was quiet, predictable, the kind of place where nothing unusual ever happened. Or so residents believed. In January of 2022, 30-year-old Emily Foster moved into Unit 206. Her apartment sat directly across from Unit 204. At first, she enjoyed the building. The rent was affordable, the location was convenient. Everything seemed normal. Then she began noticing sounds. Footsteps, doors closing, furniture scraping across the floor, almost always after midnight. Assuming she simply had a noisy neighbor, Emily ignored it. Until she realized she had never actually seen anyone living there. One evening, Emily returned home later than usual. As she stepped off the elevator, she noticed someone standing outside Unit 204. A man, tall, wearing a dark coat. His back faced her. For several seconds, he stood motionless. Then he entered the apartment.
Emily expected the hallway light to illuminate when the door opened.
It didn't. Instead, the doorway appeared completely dark. The door closed, and everything became silent. Curious, Emily eventually asked the building manager about the neighbor. The manager's response surprised her. Unit 204 was vacant. It had been vacant since 2019. No lease, no tenant, no maintenance requests, nothing. The apartment was supposedly empty. Emily laughed. She assumed he was joking. He wasn't. Determined to prove what she had seen, Emily requested security footage. At first, management refused. Eventually, after repeated complaints from multiple tenants, they agreed to review the recordings. The footage showed something unusual. Several people entered Unit 204 over the course of 6 months. A young woman, an elderly man, a delivery driver, a teenager carrying a backpack. Each appeared on camera entering the apartment. Not one was recorded leaving. One case stood out. A food delivery driver arrived at the building at 8:17 p.m. Security footage showed him riding the elevator to the second floor. He approached Unit 204, knocked, and entered. His vehicle remained parked outside overnight. The next morning, management contacted the delivery company. The driver insisted he had completed the order and returned home. Yet cameras never captured him leaving the building. Even stranger, his delivery records listed the apartment number as Unit 204, an apartment that officially did not exist in the company's database. Concerned by the discoveries, management retrieved the building's original blueprints. What they found raised even more questions. Unit 204 had not always been Unit 204. Originally, the space consisted of 2 separate apartments, Units 204 and 205. In 1987, a renovation combined the units into a larger apartment. Years later, records became inconsistent. Some documents referred to the apartment, others omitted it entirely, as if portions of the building's history had somehow disappeared.
While researching property records, investigators uncovered an old newspaper article. In 1988, a fire broke out inside the apartment. 3 residents were trapped, only 2 escaped. The third occupant, 19-year-old Michael Kane, was never found. Investigators believed his remains had been destroyed in the blaze. The case was eventually closed, but one detail stood out. The apartment involved in the fire was Unit 204. One night, Emily decided to record the sounds coming from across the hallway. For nearly an hour, nothing happened. Then voices became audible. Several voices, speaking softly, almost whispering. Audio experts later enhanced the recording. Most of the conversation remained unintelligible, except for one phrase, repeated multiple times. He's still waiting. No one knows who the speakers were referring to. The mystery deepened when a maintenance worker discovered a sealed service corridor behind the apartment walls. The passage had been hidden for decades. Inside were old electrical systems, dust-covered pipes, and evidence someone had recently been there. Fresh footprints, food wrappers, a flashlight. The corridor terminated behind the rear wall of Unit 204, yet there was no visible entrance, no hidden door, nothing. Several weeks later, Emily returned home during a severe thunderstorm. As she stepped into the hallway, she froze. The door to Unit 204 stood open. For the first time, inside, she could see a faint light. Against her better judgment, she approached. The apartment appeared abandoned. Dust covered every surface. Furniture sat untouched. The air smelled stale. Then she noticed something hanging on the far wall. A photograph, taken inside the hallway. The picture showed dozens of residents standing outside their apartments. The date printed on the image was 1988. Emily stared at the faces. Then her blood ran cold. One of the people in the photograph was standing outside Unit 204, looking directly at the camera. It was the same man she had seen enter the apartment months earlier. The problem was that the photograph was 34 years old. The next morning, Emily reported everything to management. Together, they entered Unit 204. The apartment was empty, completely empty. No furniture, no photograph, no evidence anyone had been inside. The room appeared untouched for years. When security footage from the previous night was reviewed, another mystery emerged. At 11:43 p.m., Emily was seen approaching Unit 204. Then she stopped, stared at the door, and turned around. The camera never showed her entering, yet she clearly remembered being inside. Today, Unit 204 remains sealed. Management refuses to discuss the apartment publicly. Residents continue reporting occasional sounds, footsteps, voices, doors opening. Some claim they've seen people entering. Others insist they've met the tenant, yet no lease exists, no records exist, and according to official documents, nobody has lived there for years. Still, every so often, a new resident moves into Riverside Towers and eventually asks the same question: who lives in Unit 204? If you lived across from Unit 204 and saw the door standing open in the middle of the night, would you look inside? Let me know in the comments.